You guys, Erin here, back with another moon update for you. We are having a full moon, the last full moon of 2021, coming up this Saturday, December 18th at 8:34 p.m. Pacific time. This full moon takes place in the sign of Gemini. This is 27 degrees Gemini to be specific. So what that means is this is the peak of the growth cycle for that Gemini energy for all of us through that year of 2021. How have you grown in Gemini ways over these last 6 months since we had a new moon in the sign of Gemini? So Gemini is kind of like the sign of communication. It's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This energy has a lot to do with sharing information, being a journalist, or just sharing information online, or just being a good communicator. How have you grown in those ways? Now, Gemini is also the mutable air sign. By mutable, what I mean is this energy is very adaptable, has this tendency to kind of be going one direction, and then something seems more interesting, go over this direction, and then that's something's more interesting, go over that direction. That's a strong tendency with this Gemini energy. But that air element brings in a heavy dose of intellect. We are receiving, I'm going to go into this, we also have the North Node at 1 degree Gemini. So there's a lot of Gemini energy coming through with this full moon in Gemini. I think we're all going to have very busy minds coming up this Saturday. A lot going on up here, a lot of mental function going on. That's that sign of the air element of that sign of Gemini is very, very highly intellectual. It's a student who wants to pay attention to facts. Okay, now also Gemini is represented by the twins. There's a strong duality that can come through with this sign of Gemini. Tendency to feel kind of like two ways at something about the, or feel two ways about something at the same time. There's a strong tendency for that with that Gemini energy. It's kind of like literally feeling two ways about something at the same time. That's something to be mindful of, literally mindful of through this full moon in Gemini. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys and show you what's actually going on with this full moon here. Again, this is Saturday, December 18th at 8:34 p.m. Pacific time. I work with geocentric Western astrology. That said, we put Earth right here in the middle. These guys right here, these are all the celestial bodies where they're going to be around us on Earth on December 18th. And these are all the little symbols for the zodiac signs that they will be in. So first of all, this right here is the moon. We can see it's at 27 degrees Gemini and 28 minutes. So 27 degrees, this puts us in something called the third decan of this Gemini season. So that means there's a little twist of Aquarius energy going on with this full moon. Aquarius is a very genius energy. This just amplifies that intellect, with abundance. And not only that, but this right here is Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius at 28 degrees Aquarius. So they are making this harmonious connection. The moon and Jupiter are kind of having a harmonious conversation at the time of this full moon. And Jupiter is the influencer of abundance. Okay. And going to that sign of Aquarius, it is bringing abundance. Saturn's kind of restricting the Aquarius energy, but Jupiter for this full moon, this is a lot of Aquarius energy coming in. That's again, kind of like genius, and also really good for keeping up with the changing times. That's another thing I see for this full moon. But be mindful of your mindfulness, because there's going to be very active mental function going on, especially Jupiter making things kind of a bigger deal. Okay, now this right here is the sun at 27 degrees Sagittarius. This is what happens when we have a full moon. The moon and the sun are at opposite sides of the zodiac. Okay. Now the sun has been going through this sign of Sagittarius. It's been a very interesting Sagittarius season. Sagittarius is a sign of faith and optimism and long distance travel. It's the sign of wisdom, philosophy, that sort of thing. But what's been so interesting, it's like the sun's been trying to shine that Sagittarius energy onto us. But this right here, this is the South Node that's been basically retrograding through the sign of Sagittarius for the last 18 months. Now the South Node can kind of create like a leak. That's where the celestial tides go out. Okay. And at 1 degree, that leak it's kind of potent. Okay. And so we've been kind of, I do see this. I've been seeing that people are kind of like losing their faith. Don't lose all your faith. Focus on this Gemini energy and focus on the mental part, the facts. Pay attention to the facts, because this North Node in the sign of Gemini, this is like for another month. We've got the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sagittarius. Then they'll move into Taurus and Scorpio. I'll make a video about that. But for now, this is 1 degree Gemini for this north node. This is where the celestial tides come in. Okay, so this is a very heavy dose of Gemini energy that we're receiving for this full moon. Anything at 1 degree is very strong. So we're receiving this Gemini energy. Again, it's a really good time to use our mental function, to use our intellect, and also to share the information. I would also suggest that we keep very try to be stable with our communication skills. And hallelujah, right here, we've got Mercury going through the sign of Capricorn, which can bring some stability because there's not a lot of stability going on, but that Mercury rules our conscious awareness. And in that sign of Capricorn, it can bring a little more stability. And that's really nice. Wow. Your Mercury is also trining Uranus. So that can, they're just focus on the stability. I'm going to bring up some stones also towards the end of this video that will help bring some stability in with this kind of unstable energy that we're receiving. Okay, now another thing to mention here, this is something I mentioned, I think it was my last recording, but this is something that's pretty powerful going on here. This right here is Pluto, and this right here is Venus, and you can see they are right next to each other. When any two celestial bodies are right next to each other, they blend together and they work as one. So Pluto is the ruler of the underworld. He is the ruler of the netherworld, dark forces, hidden forces. He destroys energy to create a more powerful rebirth, but it can be a very painful process. He is very strongly conjunct Venus, who is the influencer of love. So everything that I say, it needs to be finely tuned with your own natal chart, but for the most part, this can really bring some very interesting relationship energy in. It can even like reveal secrets in relationships, and even bring some dark energy into relationships. So that's if you're feeling that with your relationship, realize that this is something that will pass. This is something that will even kind of resolve itself as Venus. She's going to retrograde back and then go back over Pluto. So that's going to be interesting. But just recognize if you've got some interesting relationship energy going on, that there's a transit, that's an energy that kind of needs some attending to, needs to be focused on to help. Again, it could resolve itself, but it's a good idea to at least just be aware of that's what's going on. Some things that need to be brought their attention to. Maybe good conversation. Again, that Gemini energy is going on to bring some good communication skills between you and your partner, something like that. Okay, now also real quick here, I'm going to mention this as I have in plenty of my other videos, but I feel like it's just so important and so significant. This right here is Saturn going through the sign of Aquarius, which is very, very interesting. You know, as I mentioned, we've had Jupiter going through the sign of Aquarius, making Aquarius energy a bigger deal, but then Saturn's in there kind of restricting the Aquarius energy as well. It's kind of like in a very short nutshell here, it's kind of like the good and bad of Aquarius energy is being brought to light. But this Saturn in Aquarius is making this still very harsh square, this very like tension creating connection over here to Uranus in Taurus. This is kind of restricting the changes that we need to happen here on Earth, but also this Uranus and Taurus energy, without going into too much detail, this has a lot to do with the cryptocurrency stuff, has a lot to do with the changing of our monetary system. And Saturn is restricting those changes right now with this kind of harsh aspect between the two. That cryptocurrency stuff, I do feel very strongly will go back up next year. I know it's kind of hurting right now. So just wanted to mention that. Okay, so I will leave that there and we will go on to some things to talk about to work with this full moon in Gemini. So I always like to sit with gemstones that resonate well with the sign that the moon is transiting through, especially for a new moon and a full moon. So the dedicated zodiacal birthstone for the sign of Gemini is agate. Okay, now agate comes in all different colors and different styles and different shapes and that sort of thing. And really any of them will work well with the Gemini energy. And what I love about this agate energy is or the stone of an agate and the energy that it, kind of produces is some stability. Okay, so I do think that agate is a really good idea for all of us to be sitting with. Again, it's like, as I've mentioned in previous videos, not every gemstone is for every single person. Some people maybe should, deter or not wear red stones. If you've got already too much energy going on, if you're exerting your energy, you probably shouldn't be carrying around a red stone. But what I'm getting at here is that agate, there is a certain type of agate that can be good for everybody. For I'm just going to start by talking about blue lace agate. There's a couple little different pieces here. This is blue lace agate, very, very common stone, very affordable too. But these guys can bring some calmness to that, you know, kind of chatty energy that's going on. That agate can really bring some good, like, even luck, but also it's a calming energy or grounding or stability type of energy. There's also, like I said, here's a piece of agate right here. This is just a piece of tumbled agate. Here's green agate. There's a different kind of green agate here. I've even got some red agate here. The red agate is, you know, if you don't feel enough energy going on, then maybe you could use some red agate or just really any red stone if you're really feeling a lack of energy. Now, I mentioned agate as that's the dedicated zodiacal birthstone. So I really like to sit with the stone that really is dedicated to that sign that the moon is transiting through. But there's so many other stones that resonate well with that Gemini energy. And I will leave a very full, extensive list for you guys, maybe 20, 30 different stones that I get from several different books. And just over the years, I've received a lot of education as far as what gemstones resonate well with what kind of people. But another one that I'm going to mention here, because I do feel it's a really, really good one, is citrine. Okay, citrine, this is another piece of citrine right here. Citrine resonates very, very well with that sign of Gemini, but it's also a really good one as far as like the changing times and keeping up with the changing times, especially the changes to our monetary system. If you're trying to manifest more, you know, wealth into your life and using the changing times to accumulate that wealth, citrine is a really good one for that. I'm definitely going to be using that for this full moon. Okay, now Gemini rules the lungs, also rules the arms and the hands, it's the duality, it's the two. Okay, so it's a really good idea to pay a little extra attention to those parts of our body, especially when the moon is full transiting through the sign of Gemini. Those parts of our body become more sensitive. If you have your sun, especially at 27 degrees Gemini, then you are definitely going to be feeling some sensitivities going on, maybe some lung issues as well. Maybe just a nice little hand massage or arm massage or something like that. Just focus on that part of your body. See if you can tap into it and feel the sensitivities going on. The lungs, okay, a couple things I'm going to mention for lungs here. I really like putting mullein in my spliffs. It's an herb. You can make a tea into it or a tincture or whatever. Mullein can actually pull stuff out of your lungs. And then also a really good one is elecampane. I really do have a very strong kind of connection with elecampane. It's an herb that you can, this is when you can make a tea with or a tincture. When my mother was in her final days here, she had a really tough time breathing. She had a lot of stuff in her lungs, and that elecampane, I gave her tea and tincture, really helped kind of keep the lungs relaxed and kind of loosen up some of the gunk in her lungs. And so those are my two suggestions for, putting some focus on the lungs for this full moon in Gemini. Now, also, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but it's so important. I'm going to mention it again in case I didn't, that the polarity between Gemini and Sagittarius has a lot to do with our central nervous system. I really do feel like this is a time where some people are going to have a tough time sleeping with this full moon, because it's a lot of activity going on. And again, that mutable energy can kind of be all over the place, strong mental energy, a lot going on in the mind, especially in the late hours of Saturday. Well, depending on where you're at in the world, but that agate, that stone that I was showing you, that's a really good one for bringing calmness to that nervous system. So that's a really good one. And really I'm going to mention a couple more here in case maybe you're looking for, stones that are good for kind of everybody. These two right here, this is malachite. Okay, it's a beautiful green stone. And this right here is lapis. Okay, these two stones, A, are gorgeous, but B, these stones for the most part are going to be good for anybody, especially going back to that nervous system and having a hard time sleeping, that sort of thing. Malachite and lapis are my two strongest recommendations for pretty much anybody. But then also, as I mentioned in all my videos, any of the darker stones, this right here is black kyanite. Where's my tourmaline? Tourmaline right here. The black stones can be really good for bringing just some calmness or grounded energy. Also you can get a lot of protection from those stones. Okay, so I think I said enough. I think I will leave it at that. If you would like to schedule an astrology reading, please do visit my website. You can schedule straight through my website, or, you know, if there's something specific you want to ask me, you can also email me. My website is erinwageastrology.com. My website is erinwageastrology.com. My email is erinwageastrology@gmail.com. And I will leave links to those so that it's easy for you to find. On my website, you can see all the different options that I have for readings. And again, you can just schedule straight through my website. Okay, you guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Until next time, namaste to all of you.